According to current estimations, it would be too costly for world economies to reduce their greenhouse gas emissions. An effective reduction in greenhouse gas levels can only be achieved if certain conditions are met. The first being the reduction effort is supported by all nations in a fair and coordinated manner. To achieve a reduction target at low cost and without harming economic competitiveness of individual nations. The second, the potential of jointly pursuing other environmental objectives, such as regeneration of ecosystems, circular economy, etc., can be exploited. The third is that the cost of reduction is seen as an important investment for the future. The longer we wait to act on climate change, the more expensive it will cost to act later. There is no good reason to wait to tackle climate change, especially in economic terms. The longer we delay climate action, the more likely we are to face irreversible impacts and to pay mitigation efforts more. The starting time of climate action to decarbonise the economy by 2050 makes a huge difference in costs, and delaying actions implies, in addition, far higher investments in human relocation and adaptation. The economic losses due to climate change can also lead to social and political disruption, which could potentially undermine democracy. So which sectors emit the most greenhouse gases worldwide? So the top three are waste treatment, industrial processes, energy, and then the fourth is agriculture. The main cause of global warming can be attributed to the concentration in the atmosphere of greenhouse gases due to human activity. The energy sector, electricity, heat production, and energy transport, energy for transport and homes, is responsible for the majority of emissions, which represents 73.2% of total emissions. This is precisely why it is the sector with the greatest scope for action to contain the effects of climate change. The next most emission producing sectors after energy are agriculture, industrial processes, and refuse. Which countries emit the greatest overall amount of greenhouse gases? So this is United States of America, European Union, China, Russia, India, and Japan. And these countries also have the highest levels per capita emissions of greenhouse gases. So in terms of total emissions, the country emitting the greatest amount of greenhouse gases is China, with about 19% of the world's population. Is responsible for approximately 29% of emissions on the planet. It's followed by the USA with 14.7% emissions, Europe 10.3%, India 6.9%, Russia 4.7%, and Japan has 3.2% of total emissions. However, if we look at the amount of emissions per capita, the USA is the most polluting country, with 15 tonnes of CO2 per inhabitant, followed by Russia, which is 10.99, Japan 8.55, China 6.84, Europe is 6, and lastly is India with 1.71. So according to recent analyses by the International Energy Agency, measures taken during the pandemic resulted in a reduction of approximately 6% of global emissions in 2020. However, demand for all fossil fuels, as well as total carbon dioxide emissions, is set to increase in the coming years, driven by the change-resistant Western lifestyles, emerging markets, and developing economies. COP26 is the name for the conference on climate change to be held in Glasgow, 9th to 20th November 2021, organised in partnership between the UK and Italy. COP, or Conference of the Parties, is the supreme decision-making body of the Framework Convention on Climate Change, overseeing the proper implementation and compliance with the objectives of the Convention itself and the Paris Agreement signed in 2015 at its 21st conference, COP21. At present, the commitments made by individual states are, on the whole, consistent with a temperature increase of around 3 degrees Celsius. Significantly higher than the 1.5 degree target of the Paris Agreement, which calls for the achievement of climate neutrality, i.e. a balance between emissions and carbon absorption by 2050. This year, the 26th meeting of COP26 was held in Glasgow from the 31st of October to the 12th of November.